Gracie, have you ever seen a ghost?
Well, I've never actually seen a ghost, but I'd like to believe that the spirit of certain people are still around.
That's nice. Christina, what about you?
Well, I've never seen a ghost. I don't really believe in them. I just don't think that they exist.
Well, there are people who believe just as strongly that ghosts do exist. And our next story, Christina, may change your mind. Vintage newsreels serve to remind us of the proud young men of the Royal Air Force who carried Britain's fight against the Nazis to the skies over Germany during World War II.
These men were intrepid pilots. Some were based here at the Linton-on-Ouse Royal Air Force Base near York, England.
It was built during the mid-1930s and then saw a lot of action during the war. Much of the base is as it was. The hangars are still the same. A lot of the buildings around the base have just been modified over the years. The runways are still much the same, although they've been lengthened and resurfaced. So it stays much the same as it was 50 years ago.
The times have changed, of course, but there are some who believe that a spirit from the past remains. This is a recreation, but 4 people claim to have seen what is now called the ghost of Runway 22.
I was absolutely frightened to death when I first saw it.
I didn't know its existence when I first came here 2 years ago.
No, I've never talked to anybody else about what I saw, what they've seen.
When you're working and you're doing something and you can just sense that someone's there, it's like a feeling that goes up your, you know, the back of your neck.
I've spoken to 1 or 2 people who will refuse to talk to the press or anybody about it, but are totally convinced that they've seen ghosts.
The spirit seen on Runway 22 is believed to be the ghost of a legendary fighter pilot, Walter Hodgson.
Walter Hodgson was a member of 78 Squadron and operated here during the war and went off on a mission in 1943 over Essen in Germany and failed to return as his aircraft was shot down. Was eventually captured by the Germans, taken to a POW camp, the famous Stalag 3 of Great Escape fame. When he was eventually liberated at the end of the war, he was only given really a few months to live. He did suffer very badly from tuberculosis and eventually died in 1959. One of his final wishes was for his ashes to be spread on the main runway here, on runway 22, and a plaque put up in remembrance. It remained there until the mid-80s, but it was so affected by the wind and the elements that we decided it would be a good idea to move it inside to preserve it. And it was moved from a position outside the tower to a position on the wall inside.
The time the plaque was moved, it certainly was to be around about the same time that we had the couple of incidents of the ghost sightings.
First time I saw the ghost, I was actually working on the switchboard. It was about 10 o'clock at night, and I went out to pick up a report from the weather office. As I came out of the door, there was a figure stood in the hallway. It was about 6 foot, quite broad. The figure just stayed there like a shadow, but was actually in the middle of the corridor. The thing started moving off towards the left. I started ranting and raving, shouting, "I've seen a ghost, I've seen a ghost," and ran back into the switchboard room. One of the officers actually came out and he said that he believed me because there was a plaque that was on the wall outside the tower that about a warrant officer that had died and had his ashes scattered on the airfield.
I would say that Brenda is not the sort of person who would imagine seeing a ghost or to say she's seen a ghost for effect. She is not a hysterical young girl by any means.
I came out of the radar room and I walked into the switchboard room. I saw something move out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't think anything of it. And when I went in there, Brenda was practically hysterical with saying that she'd just seen this ghost.
I would believe Mark if he said he saw something move out of the corner of his eye, because part of his training as an air traffic controller is to be trained to observe things on a screen and to be aware of things not only in the center of his vision but also peripherally.
Mark's the sort of man who, if he says he believes he saw something, then I believe he believes it. I don't doubt his word at all.
Each of the eyewitnesses is convinced of the ghost's reality.
I saw the ghost when I worked in East Wing Annex on the top floor. I had been cleaning and polishing. I'd come out from the loo. Automatically sort of looked into the bedrooms as I was passing. Saw someone sat at the desk, and I knew what I saw was wrong. And I went back to see what I had seen, and it was gone. And I realized I had seen a ghost.
Betty's in a good position to see things if the things are to be seen, because she, of course, is around the building when the rest of us, hopefully, if we're lucky, are still happily asleep.
It must have been early hours of the morning. I was actually in bed. I woke up, I saw somebody stood by the door, He had a leather jacket on and a hat. He just walked across the room and disappeared into the wardrobe doors, actually through the doors.
A very similar sighting was made shortly thereafter by squadron leader Jim Harding.
On one particular occasion, I had the rather odd experience when I thought I closed the door because I sleep with the door closed, and I've woken up sometime later in the night and the door has been opened, and I thought I saw a shape there, a conical sort of a shape, just as a robe hanging on a hook would make. Oddly enough, was the right sort of shape for what one might call a traditional ghost with the pointed top to it.
Those who have seen the ghost have some theories of their own and some questions they'd like answered.
Maybe he came to look for someone. Maybe Walter was friends with someone up here and went into the officer's room for a pint.
If I could talk to him, probably just ask him if I could help him.
I don't think I'd say anything. I'd be at the door, probably, running that way very quickly.
I'd be very interested to know why he was around the tower and try and establish whether it was because we moved the plaque, if we have disturbed him, if he would like us to move the plaque down to where it was before.
If ghosts are going to exist, and it is presumed they haunt places they either like or for some reason are tied to, I suspect at some time he's really enjoyed himself here.
Does the ghost of Runway 22 exist? That's for you to decide.